My name is Grace Gibson, and my husband is Jonah Gibson. We've been married for about 5.5 years. We got married on June 1st, 2014.
For the first few years after we were married, both Grace and I were working full-time and going to school full-time. So we had that as an easy answer when people would say, when are you going to have kids? We'd say, well, we're going to wait till after we graduate. We had heard stories of people who had a hard time conceiving, so we just decided, well, let's just go ahead and start trying because we don't know how long this is going to take for us. And we were both really surprised when we found out, like, right away that we were pregnant. We were very cautious about telling other people about it because we had heard, that was a painful thing to have to bring people in on if things didn't work out. And at the 11-week appointment, we went in and upon the first sonogram found out that our baby didn't have a heartbeat and that we were going to miscarry.
I just felt completely out of control. I felt like my body should have warned me that this was coming, and it didn't, and it was just really hard. I felt very helpless. I was so excited to see the positive pregnancy test, and we just knew at that point we were just so excited to tell everybody. And we had experienced loss in silence, and we knew that if we lost this baby as well, that we wanted to have a group of family and friends who could support us through it. At 19 weeks, we found out that we were having a little girl, and we named her Miriam Lois, and we were just so excited. Miriam was the most active baby. We had so many just special moments with her, getting to know her and feeling her move around and just know her personality. It was an amazing feeling, and I absolutely just loved being pregnant with her.
Throughout Grace's whole pregnancy, Miriam was very active, and it was like this huge blessing because we had this anxiety from our last miscarriage of just what if we go in for another appointment and find out she doesn't have a heartbeat. And that was just like, that was a thought every day. It wasn't anything that ever went away. But once Miriam got big enough to move, it was just like this nice little reminder that she was doing okay because she was always moving around in there.
At our 37-week appointment, we had finally kind of nailed down what our ideal birth plan was. And before we left, the doctor asked if he could just check Miriam's heart rate one more time. We went downstairs to do a full ultrasound. The technician had barely even started. And Jonah and I both knew right away that there was no heartbeat.
I really struggled to describe the way that I was feeling in this moment and the depth of the hole that I was in. It was like all of a sudden I couldn't see any path forward. I had no desire to leave that room at all. If there was an option for me to lay down, fall asleep, and never wake up, I would have, if that was a button, I would have pushed it.
It was the most excruciating few hours that I have ever experienced. But we could just feel God with us in the hospital room. So many people reached out and encouraged us and just reminded us that despite the fact that Miriam's life on earth here was so short, God could still use her life to have an impact.
We were blessed to be able to spend just 7 beautiful hours with her, just holding her and just noticing all of her little features. Those were just the happiest moments.
After I had given birth to her and I was back home and it was impossible to fall asleep, I had my arms wrapped around my empty belly. And I knew I needed to listen to some worship music. And I pulled up the service from that weekend, and Bigger Than I Thought came on. And I just started singing it in bed, and just all the words. My doubts and fears don't scare you. My doubts and fears scare me sometimes. So to sing to God and tell him, I'm so thankful that my doubts and fears don't scare you because you've got this. You're in control. And it's a song that we played at Miriam's memorial service.
The beautiful thing that I just love about that song is that it repeats the line, "You understand me." I don't have to worry about articulating the pain that I feel, and I'm not limited by what I can express. The idea that there's this God that knows me because he made me.
So that is pretty much the story that we wanted to share. But the day that New Spring reached out to us for our story, that afternoon we simultaneously found out that we were pregnant again and that we were gonna lose that baby. I don't think anybody knows. Not even Jonah, how dark my thoughts were. And I remember telling my sister, I feel like Satan is winning and there's nothing I can do about it. I just kind of cried out to God, just in desperation. Thankfully, I just felt his presence just surround me. And he reminded me of the message that I had heard the previous weekend. And I thought about that, and I thought about what Pastor Mark had said. He said, even when we get knocked down, and even when we feel broken, we feel beaten up because of this world that we live in, we ultimately cannot lose. And Satan knows that. He knows that he doesn't get to win. In the end, his best hope is to just make us waste our lives and make us give up on the purpose that God has for us. There was a short period of time where I had pretty much decided that I no longer wanted to share our story. It doesn't have a happy ending. God didn't save Miriam. He didn't save our first child or our third child. But I think ultimately that is what made me want to share our story more. It's such a blessing that Jonah and I have gotten to experience God on a level that we never would have experienced him otherwise. And yes, the Bible says that in this world you will have trouble, but the last part of that verse says, take heart, because Jesus has overcome the world.